Hi and welcome to Aussie Property Riches. My name's Brendan Kelly and I'm excited to be here to take you on the journey through the world of development and renovation.
And I am Francis Goh, his better half. Together, we'll explore the world of creating wealth through property.
In each episode, we'll take you behind the scenes of groundbreaking developments, share expert insights, and feature success stories from the industry's top professionals.
So whether you are a seasoned developer or just curious about the industry, we've got something for everyone. So join us and tune in to Aussie Property Riches. Let's get going!
Hi and welcome. My name's Brendan Kelly and I'm joined today by Francis Goh. Welcome, Francis.
Thank you, Brendan. Glad to be here.
Francis is a director of Prime Land Consultants and a very successful developer in his own right. I'd also like to welcome Juliet Green. Welcome, Juliet.
Thank you. Pleased to be here.
A pleasure to have you. Juliet is an extraordinary developer, very successful, and the director of Vidal. And finally, David Klingberg. Welcome.
Thank you, Brendan. It's great to be here.
David is a director of Smart Planning and Design. Today we start to introduce ourselves to the more complex strategies. We're going to get into development. What is developing? What are the complexities we need to be mindful of? And how is it that we propose we're going to make money from this complex strategy? Should we be scared? Should we be nervous? Is it that difficult to get going in development? The answer is no, we don't need to be, but we've got to have a few things in place first. Let's start to explore that. Francis, development is a big word. There's a lot associated with the word development. Give me a range of the sort of things that development can encompass.
Yeah, so development is really adding value to a property. Okay, so it can be as simple as a 2-lot subdivision, vacant lot, or putting a new house on a vacant block. And then it can go up to 2 or 3 townhouses, and it can be as complex as building a high-rise apartment or shopping centers, a hospital. All of these are under development, and really all these are adding value to property. That's development.
So Juliet, you're quite an experienced developer. You would have done simple and more complex approaches. Tell me a little bit about some of the ones you've done.
When Francis described going from singles through duplex, through multiple, and particularly multiple income properties, right through to, I haven't done a hospital yet, but I could see myself everywhere along that journey. And I think as you scale up, you get to see each of those types. So we began with renovation. Oh, regrettable.
How can you say that? Renovations are awesome.
It's very character building. But we did then go into simple builds. So our first build was actually a duplex. And from there we went to 5. And then to 9, and I got stuck in townhouses, 9, 9, 9, 9, and now into actually green fields and whole neighbourhood development. So starting simple and then using the strategic team that you've built along the way to help you jump into that next level, I think is the secret to levelling up.
See, that's brilliant, because this is what we've been working throughout the entire series of episodes we've been running here. We've been starting small, evolving into the more complex, and we're hitting the point now where we're moving from renovations through subdivisions into the actual construction. David, what are some of the big ticket items we need to consider in a development?
Well, Brendan, in a development, certainly from my perspective, from a planning perspective, you're going to have to think about the site context, where that site sits within a broader planning scheme environment. But then very quickly, you're going to get down to the site itself. You're going to have to understand what can you build on that site. So you're going to need a design. You're going to need to understand what's on the site already and how you fit that design into that place, onto that site. Next thing, of course, is how you connect that site to the outside world, so all of your infrastructure.
Now, the infrastructure you're talking about is all the services we spoke about in our last episode, the subdivision episode, which was all about power, sewer, stormwater sort of things.
Absolutely, because you can't have a building and the people living in it in
without the
isolation.
services.
They've got to be connected.
What about off-grid?
Well, you can do off-grid. You can do off-grid. But even then, you've got services.
That's right, absolutely.
You're going to do David out of a job. There's no upgrade happening here.
That's right. Of course, off-grid, but even when you're off-grid, you have to get into the site. You have to think about your access. You have to think about your driveways, your driveway widths. These are some of the big ticket items. Of course, also finance. So at Smart Planning and Design, what we're able to do is put you in touch with people that can tell you the cost of the development based on the design. So what you've got to do from day one is bring the right team around you so you can start answering some of the questions about the processes and the costs of these big ticket items.
So we've got design, we've got the building and how it's going to look at the end. We've also got the idea of making sure the feasibility works for us. Francis, what other items might we need to consider?
Well, expanding on feasibility, at the end of the day, the art of developing is manufacturing value on the property. And you really only do that by identifying gaps in the market. In that area, how can you do something on this piece of land to generate profit or a higher return? So what I mean by that, it could also encompass strategies like granny flats. For example, putting in a small second dwelling at the back of the property and getting a higher rental return.
The big ticket items that are also ring true for me, the process associated with actually getting a development built, buildings built. Tell me a little bit about the process. What are the macro things in your mind that need to be done in order to have a constructed house on a block?
The money's made in buying the right site.
Sure.
And so the due diligence that we've talked about and becoming a due diligence detective is absolutely essential. I don't need to know all the answers, but I need the right team to ask all the answers. The build itself, getting the design right, is critical. It has to be able to meet the codes in the local area if you want a smooth path through council without having to do rezoning and complicated
Yeah, we're not
things.
pioneering. We decided not pioneering is not the answer.
That's right. And you want to be working with what the community needs. So when we talk about selling, am I building something that's wanted in that area? What's the shortfall in housing there? What shape is it? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? If I'm not keeping a vision for who my end person purchasing this or renting it is, I'm not doing my job well.
Now, these are big topics for someone who's never done a development before. So again, having the right team around you, leaning on the people who've done it before, leaning on these people around you makes a significant difference and impact on your ability to be successful in this. There is a process. You do the due diligence, you buy the block of land. After a whole pile of learning and a whole pile of evolution and understanding, growth, you bought your block of land. Then it's a case of you need to get a design drawn up, a plan drawn up. From the plan, you need to then submit the plan to council. Council come back and says, yes, you can, or no, you can't. But it's conditional. There are things that need to be completed or adapted to the plan that you get back that you need to tick boxes on. Upon completion of that, you get bang, stamped plans, endorsed plans. From there, then there is a process where you get working drawings. Now, working drawings are the drawings that builders use to be able to build the design that the plans have actually created. Upon completion of the working drawings, then there's the process of actually engaging the builder and getting the finance for it. So you engage your builder, you take the builder's signature on a contract, your own money, you then submit that document to a financier and you get the money to build. Woohoo, we're underway. Then we can actually turn soil. Now, there's a large process associated and there are a lot of moving parts to get that done. Then on the back end of that, we've actually got to do the build. And that has its own journey associated with it. So moving past that into the actual process of construction, what are some of the things that you think are critical to completion of the project?
I think the key to getting this right is actually a strategy and who you're working with and when you start the conversation. So I don't want to wait until my construction plans are ready for me to go talk to my builder. We need to be talking to them way back when so that I'm designing economically and sitting down and figuring out the strategy that community needs. What's the need there? Sitting down with your architect and saying, this site, can we achieve that here? Or do we need to keep looking for another site? Sitting down with possibly a pre-council meeting, understanding their strategic plan and saying, what do they need in this community? Because you're going to get a lot more green lights, as David's indicated, if you're working with council and what they want.
At the end of the day, you're trying to maximise your potential for your town planner at council to approve your development. The better you make it look, the way that it fulfills the obligations of the planning scheme, the faster and more efficient process through the planning system you're going to get.
So we start small. We start small on the simple projects. You can do it through project homes companies. You can do it through an architect. There are multiple ways you can skin the cat on a small project to get started. But no matter what you do, start small. Work on the idea of getting going, building up into more complex strategic approaches. The experts around this table have delved in very complex large projects and have massive success in each of them. They are successful in their own right, but they all started in their journey from smaller beginnings, and that would be the encouragement. If you've done a renovation, great, take on a subdivision. If you've done a subdivision, great, take on construction, and there is an evolution here. And in that evolution is the ability for you to fast track your way to financial freedom. When we come back, we're going to talk about what sort of property to look for to help us get going on that journey.